Welcome back, everybody. So I made this video already, but it was long, so I'm gonna try to do my best to shorten it up. So you can see from my title, and you can see from the screenshots, I truly do believe we have to take capitalism out of food. And what people don't realize is they don't realize that our current system that we have, this is a capitalistic system, and it's not working. It's failing us. And as you can see from Prepper Now's public service announcement there, this just fully encapsulates, whether he knew that or not, it fully encapsulates this problem with capitalism. Take that food broker, as you saw the definition. That purpose of that person is to make as much money as possible. And that's good. And I think capitalism is great. This is being recorded on a computer. Here's an iPhone here. I think capitalism is great. I use it. But I'm honest enough to know what the limitations of capitalism are. And what people don't realize is red tape and bureaucracy is a direct cause of capitalism. Without capitalism, you don't have as much red tape and bureaucracy unless it's because of some top-down system, which still sucks, right? Because dictatorships suck, but at least with dictatorships, they can immediately change course overnight because they want to. You can't do that in capitalism. And so we're going to talk about this from a lot of nuance. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't ever have capitalism in our food system, but we have to realize that capitalism has a limitation. And here in the United States of America and worldwide, we have seen that limitation, and we see it on full view here. We have to realize that currently in our food agribiz situation, and all these facts are going to be linked in the description box below for you to take a look at. There are a handful of corporations that supply us with 80% of our groceries. So if you go into the grocery store, 80% of all the groceries that are there only come from a handful, 4 or 5 different corporations. Okay, and then if you look at the corporations as a whole, there are 4 companies that control 65% of the retail market in totality. That's going to be, when it comes to food, that's going to be Walmart, Costco, Kroger, and Ahold. And they control 65% of the retail market. Okay, if you, depending on the studies that you look at, for every dollar you spend at the grocery store or supermarket, only 7 to the high end 15 cents of that dollar is spent on the farmer, or goes to the farmer. The rest of it is spent on processing and marketing. So what that food broker was talking about, he's making money on the way up and he's making money on the way down. He is going to make a ton of money from the situation, because if we look at all these food companies, they're making money hand over fist. That is capitalism. So how can you have a system where these corporations are making more and more money, staggering more and more money every single year, but there's less and less choice and there's more and more food shortages? How's that even possible? Capitalism, lobbying, increasing prices. The whole purpose of these corporations is to do, it's with anything else. You make as much money doing the least amount of work as possible. Take JBS, right? 2020, right on the onset of COVID, they made about $51 billion. The very next year, when COVID was at its peak, at its pinnacle, made $61 billion. And this is taking consideration that there were some meat processing places that were shut down for months at a time. So the fact that they were able to make $10+ billion than the year before when things were going great, just goes to show you this is capitalism. Government subsidies, bureaucratic red tape, all this stuff is a direct result of capitalism. So realizing that these profit margins are so high and shortages are so high as well, it would seem that we're almost at a loss. Like, how does that even happen? And again, we have to realize capitalism is all about lobbying. It's all about bureaucratic red tape. And the biggest thing that they are afraid of is small local producers. Biggest thing they're afraid of is people no longer being dependent upon the multifaceted system they have set up. That is the biggest fear of these big corporations. That is why we have all this bureaucratic red tape. They may tell you, and anybody can try to argue, that the reason why we have red tape bureaucracy is because of safety standards and safety guidelines. They can say that, but the only argument that I need to show that that's false is, take me. I'm a food producer. I could go outside. I could dispatch, harvest, process a sheep, an Angus cow, right? I can make tons of animal products for that. I can give them away for free. I can make you a meal. I could cook you up a steak. That's not a problem. I could feed anybody off the street. No problem. No permitting. No nothing. But the second I accept a penny without having gone through all the red tape bureaucracy, multiple felonies have just been committed on my part. So if this is really about safety, why would you allow me to give it away for free if it's about safety? I mean, aren't the safety standards, does something change safety-wise? Is it just as dangerous whether it's given away for free or if I accept a penny? Like, where does the danger actually come from? And so realizing this, it's very clear, and unless somebody can articulate something can articulate to me, if it's really about safety, then you should hammer anybody, even if they try to give food away for free, right? Even if they give it away for free, you should still go after them, and you should still, that would only make sense logically. But they don't, because they understand that the profit incentive and the profit power from the economic standpoint of what local producers can do is very devastating and would immediately change everything in a second. There's a reason why there are lobbying groups that are doing everything in their power just to keep our Senate, just to keep them from putting point of origin labeling on animal products, right? They don't want you to know that the steak's coming from Brazil. They don't want you to know that this chicken's coming from China. They don't want you to know where your food is coming from. They are fighting tooth and nail. Why? It's capitalism, okay? And so realizing this is the situation we put ourselves in, you have to know that our backs are against the wall on this one, because they're not afraid of competition. Competition is easy, right? Competition is easy. Red tape bureaucracy, choke them out, buy them out, right? There's a reason why Anheuser-Busch is buying out all these local brews and tap houses across the nation, because they realize that competition is dangerous, because you have found a group of people who have been able to get through the red tape bureaucracy, and so what are they doing? Now they're buying them out, and they're making them Anheuser-Busch tap houses and breweries, right? Microbrews, all that stuff. And alcohol has a lot of regulations and red tape. That's what they're afraid of, okay? Because local producers are not subservient to these big corporations. Grass, it grows, all I need. And so what this really is showing you is that the big corporations of the world, they're not scared of a bunch of, preppers on social media crying about food prices and oil prices and gas prices. No. What are they scared of? They're scared of the Mosaic Masters of the world. They're scared of the Hubel's Cats of the world. They're scared of the modern refugees of the world. They're scared of the Titan Preparedness of the world. They're scared of the milkmaids of the world. They're scared of the unapologetic preppers of the world. They're scared of the people actually going out there and doing the things every single day. That's who they're scared of, because they can't be controlled. They are able to set forth and set a path completely resilient off their own merit. That's who they're worried about. That's who they're afraid of. And the only way to control those people is through red tape bureaucracy. Hey, you accept a penny for that steak? Felony, we're putting you in jail. That is the only way they can control the populace. And they know that. And so as we go forth with this food shortage issue, realize overnight it can be changed. And we've seen this. We've seen this with two models, right? When the Soviet Union fell, we saw what happened when North Korea, and we saw what happened with Cuba. North Korea immediately, put top-down, top-heavy legislative measures in place. The government said, we're going to run electricity on this day, transportation on this day, food lines on this day. And their people are still starving. Then you have Cuba, and then you saw the government say, hey, you know what? This is bad. We don't want you to starve. So what we're going to do is we're going to make any piece of arable land, you can occupy it, you can grow food. We are not going to help you, but we're not going to get in your way of being excellent. So we're not going to fucking help you, but if you can be excellent and you can grow food, cool, we don't care. And you saw the Cuban people thrive. In fact, 10 years ago, you saw the whole capitalistic system attack again in Cuba, because about 10 years ago, there's a huge debate going on in Cuba if they should allow commercial entities to use pesticides, fertilizers, and GMO. that was a huge argument because that was a big no-no because of where they just came from. But guess what? Capitalism won, and now you're starting to see those farming practices now being practiced in Cuba. Again, capitalism is always going to spring forth. When things are going good, expect capitalism to come in, make things better. I mean, kind of. I mean, you're going to see an immediate increase. You're going to see quality of life go up. You're going to see money come in, and then you're going to see kind of where we're at now with a crash. And so that is the circle of life. And I know any good historian, and I know Preparedness now is a good historian, he knows this. And so, again, I'm confused as to why we are still arguing the stockpiling, hoarding mentality. We know where this is going. In fact, if you look at history, and I think this is a great point to mention, exactly 100 years ago, the Russian famine was in full swing. Okay? The Russian famine was in full swing. And that was a depravity that mankind has never seen before. I mean, I guess human has, but in modern day, we've never seen. I mean, you're talking about human meat markets. There were people that were literally selling human meat markets. There are human meat markets all over the place. You could look at pictures. Just type in the Russian famine. Ukraine, the same thing. They were going through their set of famine because the Russians came and stole the grain from Ukraine. And so what you're seeing is the precipice of what happens when you stifle local producers with bureaucracy. And red tape and bureaucracy comes straight from capitalism. So, I mean, there's only two ways to get stifle local producing, either by top-heavy down measures like we see in dictatorships, or capitalism. That's what happens. And so there are solutions. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset with this. I know a lot of people are going to be angry. But this is the truth. It's the same thing we saw with the Great Famine in China that killed over 30 million people. It's the stifling of local production. And again, that comes from one of two places: capitalism or top-down heavy regulation. And right now, we're seeing both in this country. So now that I've given you the bad, what are some of the solutions? The solutions are pretty simple, and we're going to be talking about these more on this channel in great detail. I'm going to have templates available that we can look at and you can start implementing immediately in your area. But it's going to be to immediately get food production that can be done at a very easy, very quick level to have that immediate turnaround time. What do I mean by that? I think backyard hens, for example, are a great example. There are lots of municipalities out there that would prohibit people from having backyard chickens. And a lot of these regulations, ordinances, statutes are archaic. And so I have lots of templates that you can literally plug and play. Plug the template in. You can easily just change on top the city or municipality or town that you're in. You can make adjustments to, structure size if you want, or the amount of chickens or what have you. But these are the precipices that we need to be setting. This is the precedence. Because again, everybody seems to think that means that they have to do something. No, I'm not fucking asking you to do anything. But what I'm saying is, if you have a small town of population of 2,500 people, which is a very small city, and you have 5 to 10% of people that do decide to have backyard hens, you know how many eggs that will produce? You know how much that's going to free you up just from a logistical supply chain? That is 5 to 10% of people that are immediately taken out of the egg market. That may not sound like something huge, but that is absolutely huge. Because as things get worse, because they will, you can now have these 5 to 10 producers that have eggs that they are continuously throwing out in their local community. That means people can go, they can start incubating, they can turn around and people can have chickens everywhere, and they can be growing chickens, and they can already start with these sustainable practices. You can have that happen immediately to where you can actually start feeding a community. Chickens are easy. They're easy to take care of. They're easy to raise. You have eggs, and if you need to put them in a pot, you can. This is how it was done in the old school days, okay? And so that is relatively low risk, right? Nobody's starting up some kind of meat packaging operation, but it's low risk, and it gives people a way to look at feeding themselves. Same thing with rabbits. I haven't seen ordinances against rabbit owning, but let's just say there was. Again, same thing, template, copy and paste. Most of the times, like I said, I haven't seen one. So encouraging people to get into backyard gardens and making sure that they know that it's not an issue, right? It's in the bylaws, it's in the ordinances. I'm not saying you have to raise rabbit. I'm not saying you have to do anything with that. You don't have to lift a finger. But it's nice knowing you have people in your community, 5 to 10% is all you need, of people that are gardening, people that are having small livestock, people that do have this ability, because then that can be taken, like we've seen. Even the European Union has even said that rabbits have been instrumental in helping prevent famine, right? So we have seen the importance of owning and caring for small animals and livestock. And again, not everybody has to do it, but if you just had 10% of any given population that was growing food, whether it's, you know, chickens, hens, rabbits, backyard garden, aquaponics, you would have enough to save your population from a lot of these food shortage pitfalls that we're currently running into. But again, the only way that can be done is on a local level, because we know you can't just, you know, the president can't just say, hey, guess what? All backyard gardening is legal. All backyard hens are legal. He can't do that. The president has no authority to do that. It's the same thing with the state. You can have a governor that says, hey, you know, all backyard hens are legal, all gardens are legal, but then you have local, municipal, county, you have all these different regulations that can, if not supersede, cause problems, be instrumental causing issues, right? So it's important as a locality that starts being addressed, because again, citing an ordinance, you know, and showing support for an ordinance to have backyard chickens is going to do way more for you than you buying 20 cans of overpriced canned chicken. Sorry, Prepper, no. It's just the truth. So realistically, these are what we should be looking at, because right now it's very clear the preparedness community is in total dysfunction, and you have these prepper channels that are just trying to make money on the way up, trying to make money on the way down. I get it. Get while the getting is good. So I encourage, you know, I want them to make their money any way that they see fit. Doesn't change my message here. I'm going to continue to be very honest and be, you know, very critical of the stockpiling mentality as is. It's a horrible strategy. I'm going to continue to be a strong advocate for solution-based preparedness. And, you know, again, eventually this conversation will have to be had, and eventually people will take it seriously. And so when they do, I want to be able to have videos like this out where we can point to the documentation, we can point to the historic precedents, and we can point to what the solution is. Because eventually we're going to talk about this at some point. It'd be nice to talk about this while our tummies are full and we can think logically. But hey, if you have to wait till you're fucking starving and your kids are looking at you saying, Mommy, Daddy, I'm hungry, if that's when you want to wait to have these conversations, that's fine. These videos and this information will still be out there. But I think it's important that before we get to that point, we look at the situation and we understand where we're at. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below. I appreciate all your guys' comments. I appreciate you guys' support. And tell me what you think. What do you think are some good solutions going forward? Because we know what the history is. We know what the precedence is. So tell me, what do you think are local solution-based things that we can implement now to prevent people from starting human meat markets tomorrow or in the future? Let me know. I'm curious. Real conversation. It's really important. Let me know in the comment section. As always, guys, long live the Republic.